Welcome everyone to Around the ACL. Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Anthony Ione. And we are getting ready for open number 8. That's going to be in New Mexico, Albuquerque. I'll be heading there later this week. Excited to check it out. Have either one of you been? I mean, Anthony, you're close.
To New Mexico?
Yeah.
I have been there for basketball. Yeah, we've traveled there
Okay.
a little bit for little man's hoops, but it's been a while.
Okay.
Never been.
Never
Never
been.
been in Mexico.
I've only driven through, so on my way to Colorado. But yeah, so I'm excited to check out the food scene. I think it's going to be slightly different than the Mississippi food scene. Just a hunch.
Yes, very different. Very different vibes for sure. Not as not as much seafood as there was probably in Biloxi.
No, definitely not. But a smaller open, kind of similar to our Des Moines one, but definitely some good talent there. And we'll get into that in just a moment. We'll talk about our top 10 from our last open. We're going to get into who needs a win. We haven't done that in a little bit. We're getting closer to the signature series. And then we asked you, where do you think the future of cornhole is going? And we have your answers to go over. And some of you had some good ideas. I like it. But Trey, yeah, how was your weekend? You had a family trip to Disney World, I'm assuming?
I did. Yeah, it was a great time. Took my niece and nephew kind of for the first time taking them, and it's a great experience once we got there. I've been sharing my fun journey getting there, in that it normally takes me about 7 hours and 15 minutes. We drive when we go. And it took me just about 18 hours to get there. We left at 5:30 the night before, and I didn't pull up until about 11 a.m. to breakfast that we had reservations for that we had to push back 2 different times. We thought we were going to drive a little bit, stay at a hotel, and then get up the next morning and go the rest of the way. No, ended up literally in the car for 18 straight hours.
Just because of the snow?
Yeah, just the ice on the roads in Savannah, Georgia. I timed it on the way home. It took us an hour and 27 minutes to drive through the state of Georgia. And on the way down, it took us 12 hours. So I had 2 different spouts, about 3.5, 4 hours each, where I literally put my car in park in the middle of the highway. I took my pillow out and I took a nap in the driver's seat because I was the driver because there was nowhere to go. So ended up on some back roads trying to drive around to some of it, just literally sliding down the road, not even driving, just sliding down on ice. Using the snowbanks on either side of the lane as bumpers to keep me within the lane. So it was the most wild travel experience I've ever had in my life. But yeah, about 12 hours in the state of Georgia, and overall just about a crazy 18 hours in the car. Here's the crazy part. This is what blew our mind. We didn't even realize it. We stopped one time.
What?
We couldn't get off the interstate. There was nowhere to go. It was, we're in traffic, and as soon as we could get off the interstate, we stopped, and then we kept going. And then by then you just want to get there. So it was just a wild experience.
That's nuts. I mean,
You said Disney World, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Disney World.
Once we got to Florida, it was fine. But Georgia, Savannah got 3 inches of snow, which is the most they've gotten in 60 years. And the problem was it snowed the day before. It just got barely above freezing. So that snow started to melt. And then that night it got it to 18 degrees. So nobody had cleared or salted the roads because they don't have that infrastructure there. So then the entire highway just turned into a skating rink.
Wow. I mean, you had said that you were worried it wasn't even going to happen due to the weather. So I'm glad it happened. But man, what a journey to get there. Glad everybody was safe. It's crazy.
Yeah, we figured it out. We're all right. And I learned I can drive on ice. So not a talent I wanted to know I could have.
Good skill to put on the resume.
Yeah.
That's like a roller coaster before you even got to the roller coasters. All right, well let's get into it. we have Albuquerque, New Mexico coming up this weekend. Let's get into the registrations. Anthony, I'll start with you. Who are you looking at?
Oh, man. I guess we can start with doubles a little bit, and then we can move into singles. Right out of the gate, top of the list for me. Got a lot of eyes on these, and we'll talk about them a little bit in the next segment as well. But we got Adam Hissner and Trey Birchfield. Not much really out of these guys this season, right? The world champs. I'll save a lot of that discussion when we get into who needs a win. But note that we have these guys in the field. I'm really excited about seeing Chris Roybal alongside Ryan Hart. We're getting into New Mexico, getting into his zone. Ryan Hart, a guy who, it's like that question. Was Ryan Hart carried by his partner? Is Chris Roybal good enough to make a deep run in doubles with a solid doubles partner? So I think both these guys have something to prove this season in doubles with the change up in partners, but we're going to get Chris Roybal and Ryan Hart in the field. Gavin Cano, Sammy Soto, these guys are due. We know they're at the top of the food chain. Stephen Bernasette and Phil Lopez in the field. I know we say it every time we talk about this, but a third place in bracket this year, a fifth place in bracket. They always seem to kind of show up into the bottom five, but can they actually win a bracket? We're going to have them in the field. Tony Smith and Mark Richards, some big dogs there in the field. I'm excited about seeing Zach Aiken and Ethan Farias in the field. Both players really coming on national radar this season. Both juniors teaming up for this one. So we always seem to have that team, like a one team that kind of surprises us in doubles that makes it deep. These young boys could actually jack up a bracket and send some of the best teams that we see in the game home. I'm excited to see what they do. Kind of the next level down for me, not necessarily teams that I expect to win it, but really excited to see what they can do. Logan Dupler and Austin Kipler, specifically for Austin Kipler on this one. He's coming in with a heck of a partner on the other side with Logan Dupler, and we know what he's done this season coming on a national radar. So now Austin Kipple looking across the boards to Logan, and here's his chance in a smaller field in New Mexico to actually come out and make a deep run and show that he has game. And I've heard a lot about Kipple's game, and he's solid. So excited to see there. Nico Morellis and Ryan Windsor. What are we doing? Nico Morellis and Ryan Windsor. Excited about this team announced out of Kill Shots at the beginning of the year. We know Ryan Windsor is a legend in this game, right? He has done it on all levels. Nico Morellis always been that guy that's just been outside pulling a partner like Ryan Windsor this year, and a partner that would stick with him throughout the whole season. We know the trouble Morellis has had in the past with, partners leaving midseason, having to pick some guys up. Man, these guys are capable of winning a bracket, but really just nothing really this season yet. So, hey, smaller field again, come out there and take down a bracket because they have the capability of doing that. I'm really excited about seeing Cheyenne Bubenheim and Riley Schaff together. Again, this one for Riley Schaff, similar to what we were talking about with Austin Kipple. Riley Schaff, one of those players that I think could change the women's division, bring that a speed control game to the women's division and really change up what we see on that side, teaming up with Cheyenne Bubenheim. These ladies can certainly come out and jack up a bracket as well and find themselves in a bracket final. We know Cheyenne Bubenheim can do it. She's been She's been demonstrating it all year alongside Jordan Power. So it's really coming down to Riley Schaff on the other side. And I think that she has the ability to keep them in game. So looking forward to them getting deep. Just some notables: Dean Norton, Corey Gilbert. We're going to get them. We're getting a little closer to the west side, West Coast. Hunter Thorne and Hunter Thorson. Joe Neested and Steve Gray. Steve Gray goes back to USA Cornhole. He made his first national broadcast through that event, maybe like 4 years ago. Getting Joe Neested out there, which we know was a top guy in the league. Interesting to see what they do. A couple players that we know are at the top of the game, teaming up with people I don't necessarily know as much. We've got Spencer Fabianar and Tony Forbes in the field, not together, but with two teammates I've never seen. And when I see names I don't know, and if I look up their age real quick, and if they're under the age of 17, there's a chance that they're really, really good. So I'm sure Spencer Fabianar and Tony Forbes are picking partners we don't recognize nationally that could do work. So I'm interested to see these new names coming in. And always good to see Ty Lopez and Peter Zasweta in the field. Love those guys. Great personalities. Again, getting out to their side of the their side of the U.S. going to make an appearance in New Mexico. Just my take on doubles.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I have to look at the names because maybe I know who Spencer and Tony are playing with. So I'll take a peek when Trey goes ahead and talks about doubles. What you got?
Yeah, there's a couple of different names. I think I echo kind of what Anthony was talking about with Trey Birchfield and Adam Hissner. And we'll talk a little bit more about them because I think we both have them, it sounds like, on our Who Needs a Win type of segment. So I'm kind of maybe playing a little bit spoiler there. But I did think this was an interesting kind of layout of players that we're seeing, just because I think the field is pretty wide open. One team that I think could make a pretty decent run here, Sam Finley and Rosie Streaker. This is a duo that has had success at the open level together. This is one where, I don't think it's going to be out of the question to possibly see, an overall championship final, maybe even, third place, fifth place. I mean, this is a team that has high expectations and is starting to throw really well. I think the favorite for the tournament is probably Tony Smith and Mark Richards. They should be. We talk about a co-team of the year type of candidate. But right behind them, I'm looking at Sammy Soto and Gavin Cano. I think those are the big guns here. If I looked at maybe see anybody that can come out of nowhere and maybe jump in and steal a little bit, Ty Thompson and Chase Lester is a team out of Texas that I'm starting to see them finish more towards the top half of finishes. More so recently. So again, in a smaller open, this could be an event where we see a lot of people coming out and finishing well. But one team, I get a chance to see them on a regular basis. Josh Quinn and Jake Hernandez. This is a Winthrop team, both players on the Winthrop roster. And Josh Quinn in particular, as you know, made it all the way. He made it to the finals of singles. He won doubles, won the team's championship. He's paired up with Jake Hernandez. Jake originally from New Mexico, so playing in his home state. Jake Hernandez is one of those guys where if he wasn't overshadowed by number 1, 2, 3, or 4 from the Winthrop team, this would be someone that at the collegiate level, we'd be looking at one that could have a really deep run. The last open he went to, he beat Matt Guy. And so he played Jay Rubin and Matt Guy in his first 2 games and went 1-1 in those games. That's a pretty good crew you have to go through to do very fairly well. So not sure if they're going to have the power to maybe win the entire thing, but one that could certainly play spoiler as we go. That's who I got for doubles.
I did take a peek at who Spencer and Tony were playing with. I'm familiar with both names. Donovan actually just beat Tony Smith at the California Open or California State just this past weekend. So I think they'll be just fine with those.
They're
guys.
going to be fine. Yeah, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, they'll be good. All right. How about singles, Anthony?
Yeah, on the singles side, I'm going to stretch it down a little bit further because a lot of those players I mentioned in doubles, obviously in singles, and kind of a lot of the same storylines. So if I kind of stretched it out a little bit here, let's talk about Steven Bernasset in singles. We talk so much about where is the game going strategy-wise, bag choice-wise. I don't know what you think, Trey. I think Steven Bernasset right now is probably the most successful bag runner with just an airmail, a guy that typically doesn't have any other shots outside of those 2. He seems to do pretty well. That guy was Matt Guy previously, but Steven Bernasset showing a lot more success, and I still stand by that. And we've been standing by this for a long time, and we're actually seeing the results. Bernasset and Guy, I think the only players in this game currently that I think can take down an open with that style of game. I do like Bernasset's choice of when to shoot the airmail more than Matt Guy. He's a little, Matt Guy obviously way more aggressive on the airmail. Bernasset will go to the push through bag a little bit more. Again, I'm always watching Steven Bernasset when he's in singles on how he's battling this new style game, this speed controlled game. And he seems to do really well, but can he actually win a bracket? Can he actually go on to win it? So I'm going to be looking closely at that. And that kind of takes me on to Gary Bearpaw. Again, if I just kind of go deeper into the roster, he's really living up to, what my scout was for him at the beginning of the year when we got into the draft and things like that. He was coming in as a guy who was one of the best in his area, one of the best in what he used to do. But we kept saying, hey, what are you going to do against a pro level block, a pro level speed control game? And we just really haven't seen the Gary Bearpaw that a lot of people said we would see. He did have some pretty good success. I think it was at one of the opens. He made a deep run, but overall, where are we at? And again, that game style, that speed run game with an airmail is really, really tough to do. Kind of moving further down, another guy, I see Julius Reyes on the list. This is a guy I had a lot of expectations coming in for. We saw him pop off at the showcase. A lot of talk behind him. He did really well in all categories. So he wasn't just like, hey, I have a good airmail or I only have a good deck around. He was really good across the board. And it might just be the case where we're just not seeing him show up a lot. You know, a guy that may not be well-traveled, but here he is in New Mexico, a guy that definitely stood out as one of the better rookies in that showcase in a smaller field. Could we have a guy like Julius Reyes make a deep run and surprise a bunch of us, Meesh?
Totally agree. Gotta love juice. All right, Trey, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I love pairing Anthony on some of these shows because sometimes we say the same exact thing, and then if it's not the same exact thing, it's always the totally opposite thing, right? Okay. And so for us here, he likes to highlight a lot of these top players that he's looking at. For me, I'll take a completely different approach. I am, call me a sucker, but like I just love the title race. Like it's just something I love to pay attention to. Yep. So when we look at an all-time title race, when we talk about maybe our 4, borderline 5, right? I've been talking about how I like Eric Davis being in that mix, right? Of players at the top of their game looking to make a run towards becoming number 1 at the end of the season in the all-time ACL title race. I really just have 2 names that jump out to me. Trey Birchfield in the field, Mark Richards in the field. Both have an opportunity. You know, Trey Birchfield could extend his lead. He currently has a 1 title lead with 21 titles. Mark Richards, if he wins this weekend, would tie Trey Birchfield for number 1 all-time in ACL titles. That would be really, really cool feat for Mark Richards to accomplish. So the rest, as we go down the list, Adam Hissner, he's at 12. When we look at Adam Hissner trying to make a run in the all-time titles race, like he's part of this conversation as well as he continues to have this deep run, but he's got to start getting more of those singles back into his pocket. If we look at his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 titles, only 1 of them is on the single side. So really you need to have a balance if you're going to continue to perform at a high level. I mean, if we look at right in this small field, we look at what Mark Richards has the potential to do. I mean, if he sweeps and wins singles and doubles, we're all of a sudden talking about Mark Richards being the all-time title leader right now, which speaks volumes. Even Cheyenne Bubenheim sitting on this list at 11. She's got an opportunity to add to her list, but also tied with her is Tony Smith, right? We always talk about Tony Smith kind of being just a young gun in the field, and now he's gaining that experience, right? But now we could be talking about Tony Smith becoming one of those all-time greats if he continues the path that he is on. So ultimately, watching a lot of the people that are on this all-time title race, and as it continue to progress throughout the rest of the season, if there's a couple people maybe not on that list that I am excited to watch on the single side, Chris Roybal was one name that Anthony already threw out. This is someone that I had my eye on. AJ Sims and Braden Wilson, both as individual players and as a doubles team. Excited to see how they kind of go through this second half of the season. Last season, they were the spark, they were the crown jewel that everybody was excited to watch, right? I want to see kind of that spark come back to them at some point in this season. And then, of course, someone like a Justin Burton Jr., who I always pick to be, someone right there at the end, seeing if he can, get back on top here at this event.
Meesh, I got one for you.
Yeah.
In the theme of this West Coast Open, if I go a year and a half ago, I remember sitting here having, going through this conversation with you and Trey, and I remember saying Hunter Thorne is the best player out of Cali. And here we are sitting here mentioning all these other names out of Cali, some names I don't even know, beating Tony Smith. As a Cali girl, who do you think would make the deepest run at this Open in New Mexico out of Cali?
Out of Cali, I mean, you gotta put Tony Forbes up there since he's had success getting to the end before. Was that in a shootout, Trey?
Yeah. It was
him
and Quinn Reeves won that doubles title. Yep.
That's right. Yep. That was a shootout. And then we've seen Corey Gilbert and Dean Norton have great success getting towards the end. So it's really hard to say. Corey has been very vocal about the fact that he's been trying to learn some stuff and, had a little bit of struggle. So I'm very curious to see what we see from him. But Spencer Fabianar has a lot of success in winning as well. I think either one of those guys could do it.
So then I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit to just reset where we were at a year and a half ago. Is it fair to say that Hunter Thorne is no longer the best player out of Cali?
I don't think he's shown a path to winning lately. No. I mean, Wally picked him and his partner to win the last Open.
I know.
They did not win.
No chance.
I didn't say no
Trey
chance.
wanted me to get blasted on social for that one.
Hey, look, you're about to get you're going in printed T-shirt territory here, Anthony. You better watch out.
It's true. It's true.
So true. But no, unfortunately, I think Hunter has not recently shown that he can win. I think he's still a great player and he can get deep, but I don't see him completing the win at this point. Way to make me have to be the enemy. Thanks, Anthony. I'm supposed to be the one that just asks you guys and stay out of it.
We're in your territory. We're getting close to your home.
Yeah, I know. Well, wait till we get to Reno's even closer. All right, let's get into our top 10 from Open number 7. We're going to start out at number 10 with Ryan Wiedenfeld and Dylan Turpin for a little bit of fun.
Deb.
She said, I knew it was coming.
She was looking down, too.
Oh, we'll get you. Don't worry.
It would have been perfect had no one said it. There you go. Because now she knows which camera to look at, so we got to get a little sneakier with her.
All right, so what did Greenfield? Did you see that? Get that on a replay. Dylan Turpin hit.
What was going on? I love it.
Oh man,
awesome.
The best part about that was that like the kid, we didn't see it happen as an audience either. So then it just completely comes out of nowhere.
We were not in on the joke. Dylan Turpin was on an island. That we appreciate you.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people are getting particular about players picking up their bags now, and you have a guy pulling it out of his pocket. That just goes to the next level.
They must have some good rapport. Anything works with rapport. Without it, it could be dangerous. All right, let's go to number 9, Hayden Gonzalez with a short airmail drag.
But it's still in front. Tony hits the block. Hayden going up. Hayden hits the drag. Nice shot.
There it is.
Banana peel.
Banana peel.
Have you been the banana peel person? Who's been starting the banana peel?
I don't know where that started.
Timeout. I was using peel back in 2020, guys.
Yeah, I didn't take credit. I didn't take credit.
I think Wally
Right,
just took
Anthony,
it to the next level. No, I didn't have banana peel. It was just peel.
I think Wally might have added the banana, I think. We're going to go with that. Hayden had a great weekend. He was the one that threw over an 11 for the whole tournament and didn't win.
5th place.
Like crazy. Yeah. All right. Gabriel Clausen coming in at number 8 with a low bounce roll.
So glad you guys couldn't all hear that.
Colin has a couple of bags super low on the board. I'm Gabe. I may just shoot this.
Yeah, why not? Plenty of space to land.
Oh, he's going to bounce it over. Oh, my. That was
if you have that shot.
dirty.
That's almost, it's got to be almost like a skip bag. Like I think the best skip, like a Gage Landis type of roll, right? Where that thing just is skipping rocks up the board. That thing isn't really rolling at all. It's just, you got to land that completely parallel with that board angle. It's really tough to do.
Yeah, Jake almost always makes the right call. I was shocked on that one too. I did not see that coming.
No.
What we would, if we went back 2 years ago, what players were doing to do that is they were almost wheeling. They were doing a real drastic, like kind of get it to wheel. But these players now are able to mock the angle of the board consistently. And when you hear that, and that bag was probably loud, when you hit the board perfectly flat, you just get that real audible out there, bang. Yeah. And you get the hop out of it. So I was shocked like Jake on that one.
There was so much room to land in front of the hole.
There's a ton of real estate with a sticky bag.
Yes, it's nuts. All right, at number 7, Tony Smith with a long roll.
1 Lions Bills, and I have 1 Eagles, like fantasy team left, but I'm not sure who the AFC team is. So If it's the Ravens,
It's probably it's the Chiefs. It's inevitable. It's always the
I
Chiefs.
definitely did not pick any Chiefs players.
Wow, what a rollover for Tony.
Some football talk to start it off.
It's kind of a similar bag to what we saw last time. I mean, it's gotta, if you want to get that big of a bounce, you can't throw it with a high arc. It's not going to be able to go as far. You have to keep it pretty low. You got to mock that board angle. And man, Tony Smith still really good.
Still really good. All right, let's go number 6. We got Tony Mayball with a 3-bag airmail drag.
I think it's playable.
Good back block. I don't hate that necessarily. Let's see what Tony shoots this. He is. He's going up and he's going down. He brings them all.
I don't care what anybody says. The feeling of hitting an airmail that drags 2 other bags is just, it's just tasty.
Especially a second bag that just wasn't in the radar to be drug. Like that was kind of silly.
Bryce Forbes, number 5 with a penguin.
Front. Does Gabe shoot it again? He's going to go roll this time. Hits it. Bryce has to put a bag in. He's going slick side down. Going at it, and he penguins. How about a penguin?
Gotta love a penguin.
How does a penguin at number 5? These better be like phenomenal. Like,
I didn't do it.
I guess the only logic is like he was trying to get everything and he only got his bag. So maybe it's like an accidental penguin, right? So maybe that's the logic here.
Okay.
But that was, it's gross.
Bryce Forbes is, I was just going to say, he's showing to be one of those shot makers like an Eric Davis. And what's unfortunate is some of our best shot makers in the game just don't have any emotion behind it. It's like I almost want to put that level of shot making in like a Trzynski's hands or even a Jeremiah Ellis, because Jordan Power, there you go. Like you put that shot making capability into that energy. Oh my goodness. It would be fun cornhole to watch.
Unfortunately, Jordan Power has the ugliest role on the planet. So not quite.
It gets there sometimes. It gets there.
It is not the mechanics to copy. All right, number 4, Mark Richards with a step out 5-bag push.
Mark stepping out to the edge of the mat. Going to try something here. I don't know what you're going to do. I would have just shot an airmail. We'll see what Mark does.
Maybe a relect.
He's going to go hard push, and he takes them all. What a bag.
There you go.
That's another miss, right? Because he didn't want to take all of that, right? He just, but for 5 bags to go in the hole on 1 bag is a lot. You don't see, that's a high number, right? We talk about 4 bags being a lot.
Trey, go back to the beginning when we had our first double-sided bags with the suede on one side. You were lucky to get 2 into that hole. There's no way you're getting 5 bags in there back in 2017, man.
It's changed.
I mean, there would be rounds by bag 4. You're halfway through the round. You knew not a single other bag was going in the hole. So you're just like,
it's done.
We'll just
that ship has sailed. Number 3, Ryan Smith with a 2-bag rodeo.
Ryan's got to get at least 1 bag in this round. Going up. Oh, he gets them all. Nice bag for Ryan Smith.
Rodeo. I've still not perfected the idea of how the ideal place to land or how you should land on a rodeo or angle your bag, because I see some contradictions. Sometimes you get that bouncing effect, and sometimes you land really, really well. So I'm still trying to figure out that rodeo shot.
Without the trampoline, you mean?
Yes.
Makes sense. Number 2, we're just going to show you 1 clip, but just wanted to let you know that this was the 3rd airmail in a row for AJ Sims for the win.
Feeling it with the airmails now.
No wonder you say do whatever you want to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Does he do it a 3rd time? He's looking at the monitor. He is, and he does it again.
Okay, AJ.
3 in a row.
That's the AJ we need. We need.
That was nuts. Coming in at number 1, Tony Smith with a roll collect.
Oh, Jake. So sorry about your game over
Tony, oh, nice roll. Look at that shot.
What?
Something must have happened with football at the same time.
Two things. One, you stole my what? Okay,
Yeah, that is trademark.
I hung out with you
can't
too
do that.
much. What are you gonna do?
Two, I like very much so that was called a roll collect on our run of show sheet and not any other form of
Anything
alternative that
else.
Michelle hates.
I write them. What are you gonna do?
Meesh, I got to say, I think you and Jake sold on the call on that one. That was way better than the call. Maybe you were like just eating lunch and you were trying to get back into it.
The Ravens must have just lost because I said, "Oh, Jake, sorry about your team." So that means he must have been looking to the side, and I was like, "Oh no, I better call this. He's not looking."
Oh,
and
got
then
you.
his team must have just
So
lost,
we
and
get
then
the
that
what?
happened. So I was like, I gotta make up for. Yeah. Anyways, sorry to put Jake on blast, but something happened there. Oh man, it was underwhelming. That was on us. All right. We're moving into who needs a win. So you're both going to give us your take on who you think needs a win as we get closer to my signature events. Trey, we'll start it off with you.
Yeah, number one on the list. No shocker here. Someone that has been essentially non-existent this first half of the season. That was our best player in the world last year,
Yes.
Jeremiah Ellis. He's up at the top of the list. We can go down any which way and say hasn't played in a lot of events. I get it. He's only played in 2 opens since the start of the year. Fine. I'm not even insinuating that he needs to do something before the event, but you're putting all your eggs in one basket that it's going to be fine once the signature season starts. Fine. Then get it done. That's all I got to say. So needs a win, needs a good performance to show people that, because I'll tell you what, he's in the relevance of everybody's mind still. If he shows up to that first signature and finishes 35th, everybody forgets about him quickly. Now, he can always get back in everybody's good graces very, very quickly, but what I'm getting at is he is going to have to make that he's going to have to get a good win and get a good performance. Number 2, I have Adam Hisner and Trey Birchfield. This one's a little bit different. I'm not in no way saying that they need to go, or I'm going to say like these guys aren't any good anymore, right? It's more of that, hey, look, you guys had a dominant season last year. Let's keep doing that, right? And if we want to keep doing that, we need to have a strong finish here coming up relatively shortly. Here's a big one. Where in the hell are AJ Sims and Braden Wilson? I mean, what? Last year, we couldn't go to an event without talking about these guys once we hit event number 3, right? And I've heard essentially almost nothing about this duo so far this season. And it's disappointing because they were one of the favorite teams to watch, right? I'm hoping things just turn up when it comes signature time. But for me, these guys need a good win. They need a performance that brings them back into the top of everybody's mind as we get into the second half of the year. Another one is Chris Roybal, okay? This was a Rookie of the Year candidate, and if not for Jeremiah Ellis coming and having this incredible season, we could have been talking about Chris Roybal being Rookie of the Year, and I have yet to see anything about Chris Roybal this season. I wasn't even on my radar to talk about today until I said, let me pull up my rankings from last season, and I said Chris Roybal was ranked what? Right?
Yep.
Not even close to the level of performance that we saw last season that we've seen so far this season. I can kind of put him in the LS category right now of we just haven't seen him a lot, but there's no excuse why in a smaller field that we're going to see this weekend that he shouldn't be finishing near the top. The last one, kind of a little bit off the wall, but someone that I haven't seen a ton of success of just yet this season, Zach Scheidner. We were talking about Scheidner. He got his first national doubles win last season. That is a feat that some of the all-time greats haven't been able to do. He had a fantastic year last year, and I just haven't seen much from him this season, right? Do I expect him to be the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ranked player in the world? No. But I don't want to see him have a season that is disappointing as he goes and follows up with what was his best season of his career last year. So excited to see those guys, those who I think need a win or at least need a strong performance to regain confidence for me that they can be a major player in this upcoming signature series.
Anthony, who are you looking at?
I share your take on Ellis. Needs a win. And if we kind of look to last season, it took him a while to get that first open win. It was like later, like open 12 or 13 right before or right around when we got into the Pro Series. But he showed a lot of promise throughout the year. He had a number of different, finishes inside top 4. And this season, not much worth talking about. Yes, he's not well-traveled this season, but the ones he did show up to, 25th place at open number 1. Granted, he did run into some monsters. He lost to Eric Davis and Logan Dupler in that one. But we're talking about the number 1 player in the world. We're talking about a guy that we expect to win some of those matches. And we're all kind of thinking this too. I know you guys are thinking it too. We've seen it so many times where a top player in the league comes back that next year and falls. We had Jamie Graham, number 1 player in 2020, fell to 27. Matt Guy was number 3, fell to 20. Mark Richards, number 4, fell to 46. So is this Jeremiah's turn to repeat history where we're going to see him fall within the ranks? And I think he needs a win to show that that's not the case. Adam Hister, I think, needs a win, and not to throw any shade on his performance, because he's actually had some deep bracket runs, making a bracket final at open number 3. We're just talking about the number 2 player in the world, or one of the best players in the world last season. Unexpectedly, we knew the guy was going to be top 30 to 40, but to come out and do what he did, taking down a national title, he needs a win. We're talking about a guy that could have been first place last year if he finished a little bit differently or had a different start to the season. For Meesh's sake and her hot takes, Eric Davis needs a win. At some point, Meesh's hot take is going to hit. Eric Davis to win. Just messing with you a little bit. Eric Davis is doing super well this year. We just need that for Meesh's sake. Trey Birchfield. We're talking about the world champ, right? This guy's been really consistent. If this was anybody else, I would say you're killing it. You got a 3rd overall. You got three bracket thirds. He's kind of got this third thing going on, but you're the world champion. I think he needs a win to show that he's still one of the better players or the best player in this game. I thought it'd be kind of fun to twist it a little bit. A guy that I don't think needs a win and he hasn't won. I'm really impressed with how consistent Logan Chamberlain is this season. Would he like a win? Yes. And I think that he needs a win just from how much work he's putting in and maybe a motivational perspective. But that's a guy I thought that actually hasn't won one, and he's just so consistent. I don't think he needs a win. I think he's still going to finish as one of the top guys in this league. I want to just second your Chris Roybal comment. What I think is going on there, obviously, doesn't travel much at all. What I keep telling myself, at least, is Chris Roybal is grinding like in secret. Sure, locally, I think that everybody knows how good he is, but I have a lot of expectations that he's going to come out and really kill it, if not win the whole thing. That's what I keep telling myself. So I think the Open this weekend is really going to show if that's actually true. Just a few on the doubles side. I was kind of on the fence with Tony Smith and Mark Richards if they needed a win, because they've had to have some success this year. But then I'm like, you know what? This is a loaded team, and Lucky didn't sign these guys to max deals to keep taking 3rd place. So I think that these guys do need a win. This is the loaded team, the probably the biggest contract across all of doubles teams. They need a win. Alex Rawls and Derek Holland, I have them in the category where I don't really think they need a win. They won a bracket at open number 1. They took 4th at open number 7. They're not super traveled together very well, but I think that they're going to be consistent. I think that they still roll into the Pro Series and do well. And Trey, you have a closer look at Holland just locally and how he's playing, but as a team, I don't think that they need to win. I'm going to say the same thing about Justin Burton Jr. and Logan Chamberlain. Oddly, I'm going to say the same thing about Devin Harbaugh and Jeremiah Ellis. I don't think that they need a win, even though we don't see them play much together. I think when these two guys get together, they're going to be amazing. I know I give them a hard time about not throwing the same bags, but I think to me that's the difference between taking 3rd and 5th. I still think not throwing the same bags, there's definitely going to be a top 10 team. I think they should still be top 5, even if they're throwing different bags. But if they want that first place spot, I would like to see either Ellis moving over to the X's or Harbaugh moving over to the R's. Who's Eric Davis's partner? Is it Sorrell's?
Yes.
Okay. Those guys need a win. Those guys need something, right? We're talking about, they were top 5, I believe, last season. I don't think we've seen them all year. I think we're talking about a top 5 team last year. Matthew Sorrells and Eric Davis need a win as we go into the Pro Series. I can't imagine the first time you get together is at signature number 1. That would just seem pretty wild to me.
They played open number 7 together. I'm almost positive.
Okay. Well, they didn't
Right?
finish well because they're not even on my top 7 in a bracket radar. So they must have finished pretty poorly. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to go. You already know about Steven Bernasette and Phil Lopez. We all know that they need a win. They consistently seem to be there. I was on the fence with Chad Hunt and Tommy Sliker, just because they're the two or three tournaments they've been in, they've done pretty well. They made a bracket final, I believe. It was either second or third in a bracket, a top 12 team last year. So I'm kind of on the fence with them. I think they have the capability to win a bracket and put themselves in a final. But a team like Chad Hunt and Tommy Sliker that I felt like were trending up, I think could use a win to really show that they're not just a top 20 team this season, but they're going to improve from 12 to top 10, Meesh.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Let's get into some of our listeners and what they think is the future of cornhole, starting off with David. He said, this one's interesting. I want to get your take on it. Some sort of variation in the scoring, because once a player reaches a consistent 12 PPR, there's nowhere to go after that. And although no one has done it yet consistently, somebody will. Everyday players are getting closer and closer to reaching that goal. Where does the game go from there when you have players throwing consistent 12s? Will it happen, Trey?
Yeah. I don't foresee that happening, right? So let's get to a crazy perspective, right? Of what is the closest equivalent that we could, ever have in the sport. You're talking maybe, you could say maybe a free throw, but some of the best free throw shooters in the world, right? We're still talking about 75 to 90% in that ability. But the ball is bigger, the hoop is bigger, which inherently makes that a little bit easier by trade. And you're at a set stationary and you're just trying to throw it in. That's if we wanted to try to transition to the game where nobody's ever going to just be able to hit hole for hole every single time with a slide bag, because the defensive element of the game is going to step in. Now, if your argument is there will be somebody that comes along that just says, I ain't playing any of this, I'm literally just going to throw an airmail every single bag, and I think that I can hit 95% on my airmails, and by doing that, that's going to be how I succeed. I just think you're at a further distance, a smaller hole in a smaller bag than what a free throw is. And we talk about our best athletes in the world are playing in the NBA. We're just at it. We're at a crossroads. We're two very different. I just don't see us getting to a point where people are at a 12 PPR across an entire event. I also think that, bags will continue to change, and maybe does the sport go back to really, really sticky bags on purpose to try to prevent these type of things. Now, if the argument is, does the game get so easy that it becomes too easy to where these PPRs go super high, the games get super long, I'm not saying I foresee a big change coming, but if we ever got to that point, would there be conversations about what we could do to change the game to make it more digestible for people and fans and players? Of course. I think the ACL has shown time and time again that when change is needed, they will make change. We will make change. That's what we made an entire career on. So hear the concern. I get it. I think players will continue to get better. Do I see someone throwing a 12 PPR? No, because sports and being a sports fan and the history of what I've been, grow up doing just show that is a place that we cannot physically get to.
Interesting. All right, we'll go to Alan.
Meesh, can I speak on that one a little bit?
Go
I have
ahead.
some thoughts too. So we've obviously seen this game evolve quite a bit, and it's been this up and down thing, right? I think where we're at in the game right now is players are ready or realizing that they need to sacrifice their PPR to add to the DPR. They need to be sacrificing a little bit, and I'll just throw some names out real quick. Justin Rule, a guy who chases a high PPR, he has an insane PPR, knows that he is just this little bit away from a DPR increase to be able to win tournaments, and he can't quite do it. He's always right there. I think we're going to see guys like Justin Rule, Steven Bernasette. I'll throw guys like Kyle Malone, AJ Sims, even a Devin Harbaugh. These guys that throw insane PPRs are going to start sacrificing a little bit of their PPR to add to the DPR. I'm really sticking by that. You have to be able to throw a 10.5 to win tournaments. There are going to be those outliers, but if you threw a 10.8 in the tournament and a 0.35 DPR, chances are you're not going to win. You will make it deep, but you won't win. So I think the next evolution of the game are people are going to start sacrificing a little bit of that PPR and add it to the DPR. I mean, just let's look at who won this year already. We got Ryan Trader, Mark Richards, Jacob Trzynski, Gore, Soto, Tony Smith. None of those guys are chasing PPRs. Devin Harbaugh, probably the only one who won open number 1, but he has the ability to add to DPR with other shots. 6 of those 7 winners are not chasing PPR. They're chasing a balance of DPR and PPR.
Yeah, until I'm not worried about the game being too easy until I start seeing people laying 1.5 level blocks every single round and being able to score every single round. We have not reached that yet, so we have not seen the pinnacle of what the sport can be.
All right. Alan said, I know the logistics side of the house can be difficult, but I believe the ACL could bring a larger crowd if they're able to secure venues at major airport hubs for opens. Minneapolis, DC, Chicago, Charlotte, Atlanta, LAX, Dallas, Boston, Orlando, Vegas. It'll cut costs of the players, and hopefully with the increase of players at opens, offset the cost of the ACL to host at larger cities.
Great in theory, right? The closer that you are to a major hub, the more expensive it is, and the less support that you get from major hubs, right? If you're not the Super Bowl, the city of Houston does not give a rip that you're bringing a tournament of X size to their city. Now, Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is looking to compete with the Charlottes of the world, right? And wants to say, hey, yes, I know you want to go to Charlotte, but Rock Hill is just a short drive away. We're willing to incentivize people for coming or offer discounts or make it more affordable for people to come our way. The city of Atlanta, when we want to go book their convention center, says, write me a $250,000 check, and then you can come do whatever you want to do, right? That's a tougher conversation to have. So it definitely good in theory. And as we evolve, there will be ways that we can continue to expand and get better in that way. But there's a lot of moving parts to the decision on venue hunting for sure.
Okay, there's so many good ones. We'll have to pick this up next time. I'll just read one more from Rob, and this had conflicting. Some people agree, some people don't. You got to make all juniors and kids compete in their own division. Full stop. No mixing. Make them all stay in the juniors division.
Yeah, I think did Jamie Graham write that after he lost to Cash?
That was Jamie Graham. He wrote that. I knew it.
That's his burner account, right? Look, we want to expand the Junior Pro Tour, and hey, look, if the Junior Pro Tour becomes something that is badass one day, then maybe. But we're building towards it.
Yeah. All right, we'll continue those next week because there's a lot of cool thoughts there. But we'll wrap it up here with our hot takes. Trey, what do you got?
Yeah, hot take for the week. They were on my who needs to win list. I'm expecting a finals appearance. So first or second place, AJ Sims and Braden Wilson.
That actually is hot.
Okay. All right. Anthony?
All right, I'm going to say that we do not have a repeat singles winner, and this feeds into Trey's titles race that he was talking about. And I kind of foreshadowed it throughout the show, talking a lot about how consistent he is. This is Logan Chamberlain's week. Logan Chamberlain going to win singles.
All right, and I got Corey Gilbert. We were talking about can he be the best in Cali? So him and Dean Norton are going to win their bracket. Let's see you guys do it.
Meesh.
Yes,
that's spicy.
That is hot and doable. That is hot and doable.
See, there we go. All right, that's all we got time for. We'll see you guys all next time. Enjoy all the coverage in New Mexico.